Jai Hind and welcome to another lecture. So in today's lecture, the topic that we have taken up is active listening techniques, identifying the key details in conversations. Why these are important? Why? Because these help us identify the key details in the conversations. Moving forward. So first and the foremost, we'll get in touch with what active listening is. So what is the definition? Let's touch upon that. Active listening basically goes beyond words. It's just not simply hearing words. It's like being totally focused on to what the speaker has to offer. So you are fully focused on the speaker and you are not only listening to the speaker fully, you are also processing the information the speaker is passing on to you. And then after analyzing that information, you are ready in your mind to respond thoughtfully as whatever would be the appropriate response to what the speaker is wanting to talk about with you. So it requires intentional engagement and attention to verbal and non-verbal cues. So a lot of verbal cues we get, but they are very subtle and very certain important non-verbal cues also, which makes the listening and speaking activity highly interactive and impactful. So one must keep a tab on that as well. We move on now. The importance of active listening in advanced English. Why do we need to practice it? Active listening basically is a skill. So like your spoken English is also a skill which you can acquire at any age, polish it and enhance it more. Similarly, active English is very, very important skill which is crucial for developing your fluency as well as the important aspect of comprehension. In real life situations such as your interviews, your team meetings, your presentations, and understanding nuances and key points, if you have a proper understanding of all of this, you can comprehend all of this by listening carefully to what your bosses, your team members, your interviewees are asking you, then you can answer appropriately. Significantly, it enhances your communication skills. Now, the examples are in the professional setting, understanding the task which is given in a meeting or picking up verbal and non-verbal cues during negotiations is pivotal when you want to be present fully in an office environment and create an impact. Then, in social context also, active listening plays a great deal of importance for us. It is picking up the tone that bring changes in the storytelling, how the narrator is talking, how the pitch is changing when they are mentioning about any past event, and how we respond appropriately in personal conversations. Again, this is an important aspect. So therefore, we must keep in mind that active listening is a skill which we can refine with consistent practice. Isn't that a wonderful thing to come our way? That this can be achieved to excellence with practice, and for it will help you have stronger communications in all areas of life. So the techniques for active listening are focus on the speaker. And how do you do that? Always maintain an eye contact with the speaker. This shows that you are attentive. This shows that you are engrossed. Then having a better body language also is important. You should always avoid cross-body postures like so. This shows that you are not open. You shut the speaker and his ideas away. So open body postures are considered more appropriate for you as an active listener, or rather as an active listener. So open body postures. And then you have to, when you are interested in something, you get engrossed in it, correct? And when you get engrossed in even watching your favorite TV program, you get to lean ahead, lean forward a little. Similarly, if you are interested in what the speaker is saying, it is but natural for your body to lean a little forward. This shows that you are interested in what is being said. So this shows engagement, that you're focused, you're interested. And then verbal affirmations. These are important but should be used carefully we'll come ahead and cover this a bit later. So, verbal affirmations, short phrases if you are agreeing with the speaker during the conversation or what the speaker is mentioning. Excuse me. Then you can say a few short phrases instead of just saying, yeah. No, it's very, very, it doesn't sound polished. It sounds very rude and crude. So avoid that because we are here to hone this skill. So instead of just using those little words to, add in every now and then if you're wanting to interact with the speaker, you must come up with phrases like, I understand. Oh, please go on. Yeah, that's an interesting fact to have been mentioned. This encourages the speaker to express a bit more so that they understand, the speaker understand that the listener is actively engaged in the points what he is making. Now, what are the techniques for active listening? We've just covered, but there are a few things we must avoid. One is this cross-body postures. Number two, very important, is multitasking or looking distracted. I know it's a very busy day and age we are living in. People have a lot of deadlines to adhere to, and finding time for just getting focused at one thing at a time is kind of difficult and challenging in most work scenarios. But when you are trying to listen to someone, this is imperative that you give all your attention to the person who is speaking to you. Don't look distracted. It will show total disinterest. It will show a complete disconnect. And the entire purpose of having a conversation gets defeated. It comes down to a big zero. So instead of checking your phone or checking your laptop, emailing, or just going through your documents on the table, avoid all of that. Rather, focus on what the speaker is saying. Then, I said the verbal affirmations, which you can use, but use them carefully, sparingly. Don't interrupt the speaker every now and then. No. Number one, it breaks the flow of thought for the speaker. Number two, it definitely causes a lot of irritability to the speaker. Number three, unnecessarily interruption would delay the conversations and the entire impact of the conversation also would be lost. So unless it's imperative, do not interrupt the speaker. Let the speaker finish. Then you'll have your own time to ask and clarify the information which you gather out of the point that the speaker has made. So wait till then. Then listen for the keywords and the ideas. So when you've been an active listener, you won't remember word to word, of what the speaker is saying. You will just carry the gist of what the message was about. So it's something like you need to focus on the key aspects, the repeated phrases, because they show what is the significant part of that message, what is important information in that message, right? Pay attention also to the transitions where the speaker would use phrases like, so the main point is, the main concern is, that shows where the entire focus lies. So the crucial point here is, this is showing the important markers. So one must keep these key factors in mind when you've been an active speaker so that you can get the entire gist of the points which are being made. Recognize when the speaker's tone shifts to empathize or emphasize an idea. So when I'm talking to you, my tone is also going up and down. Sometimes I'm making the words come out with a lot of stress by putting a lot of stress on the word. That shows that these are important words. These are important messages. So similarly, focus on the speaker's tone and also make sure that where he's putting the tone is putting the focus on, because that's where the important key content lies hidden in the message. So the simple one is another very simple sentence activity I have taken up, which we get to experience in our office scenarios every now and then. In today's meeting, we'll discuss project timeline, prioritize tasks and allocate resources. So what are the important takeaways for me from this sentences? Timeline. If the office colleague who's not attended this meeting asks you, what did the boss say? So you can say he discussed about that we have a project timeline to stick on to. So you could get the gist about the whole message and you can give it to your colleague. Then he said we have to do a few tasks on priority. So those are important things which have to be done before we meet the deadline. And then he also said to allocate the resources. You don't have to go on speaking word to word of what the message is. You can just say that we need to keep a tap on the resources as well. So the key message was conveyed with the help of the key ideas or the key words which you took away from the conversation. So clarity and confirmation. It is very important for you as a listener to take the information given by the speaker with lot of clarity. And if you don't get the clarity, you must reconfirm as to what you've understood and clarify with the speaker that this is my takeaway, is it correct or not? So what is the whole thing about? Asking for additional information. You've not understood anything, it's always better to clarify, recheck, double check, because that will eradicate the scope of errors and misunderstandings. Okay, and it will help you follow the instructions precisely and better. Why it is important? Of course, it saves your time, it saves the effort, it reduces misunderstandings, and the correct information is always shared. How to clarify and confirm? Now, instead of just throwing a question, you have to phrase and paraphrase or better phrase the what you want to ask the same question in a better manner. So you can ask questions, if you want some information or some clarity on what the speaker was saying, you can say, did you mean that? So you are asking for a clarification. Did you mean that the deadline has changed? So you can ask a question when you want to reconfirm that has the deadline changed. So it's a very nice and a polished way of asking or reconfirming the information which was shared with you earlier, which will give you a precise idea or info now. Then paraphrasing. So you can even paraphrase. Now what's paraphrasing? So what you're saying is we should focus on the design first. This is what you wanting to tell us? That this is the prime thing to focus on? So again, you are wanting the speaker to once again clarify that what information you've gathered out of the whole thing is correct or not. Then is use reflective listening to mirror what the speaker said. For example, now what is reflected listening to mirror? So when you look at the mirror, it reflects what is being put in front of it. Similarly, so you can use this technique to reconfirm. So what the words the speaker had used earlier, you can use the same set of words and frame your question with those words. And you can say like, it sounds like you are concerned about the deadline. Is it correct? So you are just picking up the words from the conversation or what the speaker said. You are again putting them properly and wanting to seek more information on it. So applying the techniques. There are many techniques like we've discussed. It all boils down to how do we apply. Most of us know about these topics, if not all of this content, but most of the content which I'm going to be discussing today, many of us have a brief idea about it, right? But the challenge lies how we practically imbibe it or use it in the real life scenarios. So the best is to practice, because the more you practice, the better you become. It's not a hidden truth. So how can we do it? Listen to English podcasts, and or how the narrator in those podcasts or the guest or the interviewers or the interviewees, how are they going to be narrating the incident, or they do the storytelling about their past events. That's one. That will also give you an idea after the podcast is over. Oh wow, this was my key takeaway. This is what I have understood. You can summarize what you've listened. So that would make your listening go to a higher level. Then you can also watch TED Talks, right? You can watch some short movies, and after seeing those, you can see where the speaker was laying the key emphasis on what were the major ideas and how was the emotional tone. So that will also help you, once you listen more, that will help you speak even better later on. It's all interlinked. Then is role playing. Now for role playing, you can ask one of your partners to bring across or just crack a real life situation, and just around that you can build a conversation. Then you can focus on taking away or identifying the main or the key aspects or the key points of the conversation. And then once the conversation is open, you can tell with your friend, or you can deal with your friend and tell your friend that, oh wow, this is what my summary of the whole conversation was, or this is what I could understand out of what we have discussed till now. So this will give you more of practice of practicing the nitty-gritties of active listening. So now we move on to a quick wrap up of what we have learned. Importance of focusing on the speaker should never be ignored. Excuse me. Techniques for identifying key details like the tone, emotional cues, the keywords should always be kept in mind. These are the important details which will make your listening skills go better. Then also, how do we clarify and confirm about the doubts which we have, which will give us more clarity, better understanding. Then this is my homework activity, which is just a suggestion, but it will go a great deal for you if you practice this. Use active listening in real life conversation and note down 2 to 3 key details afterwards, so that when the conversation is over, you can have a look into it that did you get it correct or not. Excuse me. We now move on to vocabulary galore. So the first word is astonishing, which means extremely surprising or impressive. The magician tricks were so astonishing that the audience gasped in awe. Next word is bolster. It means to support or strengthen something. I'm so sorry for this. To support or strengthen something. So how do I use this word? Is the new evidence will bolster our case in the courtroom. Okay, strengthen the case. Then the next one is candid. Candid means being truthful or straightforward. She gave a candid account of her time working abroad. With that, we come to the end of the lecture for today. Thank you and Jai Hind.